I'm Tim W. Jackson, along with Taryn Chase Jackson, and we're from Grimrose Manor. We welcome Elia Bisker and Jeff Morris of the Brooklyn-based folk goth duo Charming Disaster to chat with us in the parlor. All right, Jeff and Elia, Charming Disaster, we are so happy to have you guys with us in the parlor, as we say.
Hello, Grim Roses. We're so
Hello.
glad to be here.
Yeah, it's good to be here.
We are happy that you guys could make it. We were happy to do the world premiere of your most recent video.
Thank you
That
for
was
that.
that was super exciting. And we want to talk a little bit about the new album, which is about to drop, and also a little bit about the Oracle deck. So let's start there if you guys want to jump in. So from the Kickstarter campaign to release, just tell us a little bit about the process of seeing the double and the expanded Oracle deck come to fruition.
All
Well,
right. Wow. I feel like it's been so long since we started this process.
yeah.
When we did the Kickstarter, we had already begun work on this album. We had started recording. What we often record in kind of batches because we're not the kind of band that like goes in and we're like, all right, we've got 10 songs and like we're gonna go into the studio and we're gonna stay there until we have all the 10 songs.
Mhm.
We'll often get to like 4 or 5 songs and be like, this seems like a good number that we know well enough at a time to like go in for a couple of days and get things kind of on their feet. So we had a few of those already when we launched the Kickstarter. The Kickstarter was for the production of vinyl primarily, because that has a lot of upfront costs, and also to update the Oracle deck, which we will explain more about in a minute. Um, and uh, and also to finish recording because we God, how many rounds did we do?
It was a long process of recording, both in person and we did the tracking in person in Tacoma Park, Maryland, with Don Godwin, our good friend and engineer and collaborator, and then we did subsequent mixing sessions remotely, which he's busy and we're busy, so these things take a lot of time to schedule.
And actually, one of the sessions we had scheduled, which was to do our vocals and kind of finish
Oh
up
yeah.
some odds and ends, was last summer. We were at the tail of our tour, and we were on our way to the studio, and we Jeff had like a little scratchy throat, and he did a COVID test in the car, and we're 10 minutes away from the studio. We have had this on the books for months. We've like
Yeah.
painstakingly scheduled it. I have called in the egg sandwich order. Like we are like ready to
Ready to
go,
go.
and Jeff tested positive for COVID. So we had to put off our obviously you can't record vocals when somebody has, COVID. But we were able to work on some other stuff while we were there with Don, which was like a whole other story.
Mhm.
But it did push back the finalization of tracking until like November, which was the next time we could get back there. And we mixed kind of furiously in January into February, and we do mixing remotely, which has pros and cons. It's easier to schedule, but like it's great to be able to do it, but it's not as good as being in person as far as like just sort of
Obviously.
communicating
Yeah.
like stuff goes. And Yeah, we mastered it in early March, and we've been kind of
Yeah,
buffing.
and it was kind of harrowing. We had it we had the records out for pressing into Canada, where they pressed the records, and we were all like worried about the tariffs and all the craziness. Same, we were worried about the Oracle decks and all the tariff
The
craziness.
decks are printed in China, the records are pressed in Canada. Like even little guys like us are like very much impacted by all of this. But the record pressing company announced that they were going to
Yeah,
absorb the tariff costs for all their US customers, which was incredible. And like we already liked working with them, but like that was kind of a heroic
yeah,
thing.
exactly.
Yeah, that's
Um,
amazing.
and
Yeah.
and the decks came in-house before all of this sort of started. So we got lucky with the timing there.
Yeah,
Um,
it was funny because like I was like writing the company in China, like, when are you sending these out exactly? When is that? And they just didn't respond. And the next day there was like a pallet of merch in my hallway. It's like they had just like dropped it. I don't know who did it, but someone just like put all these many boxes of
Yeah,
Oracle
it's like
decks
a
into the
like a
house.
barricade, the
Yeah.
boxes. So the deck is that we this is the second edition of the Charming Disaster Oracle deck. The first edition we created with our last studio album, Supernatural History. And the 60 cards in the deck correspond to the songs on our discography, more or less, at that point in time. 5 albums worth and some singles. And since then, we have sold out of the first edition and released a bunch more songs. So for the second edition, there are the 60 original cards in the deck plus 12 more cards. And for the first deck, we commissioned artwork from 24 different artists, and for the second edition, we roped in about 10 more people, including Tara and Chase Jackson, whom you may be familiar with.
Yes.
It's a great honor to be involved in such a project. I'm so thrilled.
So very soon you are gonna get your hands on the deck.
See, I have the original deck, and so I'm just like really excited to see all the new artwork.
They did a great job on printing. It's the same company we used the first time around, and they did a really beautiful job. And we got fancy boxes this time, and it's all really exciting.
Yeah, it's really cool.
I think Taryn is reciprocating some love. What kind of shirt you wearing today, Taryn?
Oh, why?
Oh.
It's a Charming Disaster shirt.
So
Nice. Love that shirt.
I mean, mine's not brand. I just have a skull, which I feel like kind of is,
acceptable.
but it's not as exciting and branded. There you go, the undead, which
And
we'll
I'm
get.
just the undead.
And we're gonna get to a little bit more about the undead with your video later. But while we're talking about the double, let's go ahead and give some credit where credit is due with the rest of the players. You talked a little bit about producer engineer, but tell us who else is on this album with you guys.
Oh, well, we have incredible cello player,
Kate
Wakefield.
Wakefield.
Sorry, I just blanked for a second. Kate Wakefield, who plays on she plays on Green Things.
No, Scavengers.
That's the one.
Yep.
Scavengers
And also on Beautiful Night.
and Beautiful Night.
And Kate's cello is also heard on our single Cherry Red, which is part of the Time Ghost singles collection that we released last year. And for the double, the vinyl edition of the double is confusingly a double album with one disc, the double, and the other disc is the vinyl reissue of Time Ghost. So if you have the vinyl release of the double, you get to hear Kate on 3 different tracks. Kate plays in a band called Lung, which is a heavy metal duo featuring Kate on cello and her bandmate Daisy on drums. And when you go see them live, you understand why you don't need anything more than a cello and a drum set to make really, really badass heavy metal music.
Oh yeah,
They're
you
incredible.
should check them out. And we have Hansa Nook plays reeds on don't tell me, Beautiful Night. Not Beautiful Night.
No, Black Locust.
Black Locust. Black Locust.
I faked you out.
Jeff wasn't even here for the recording of the album. No.
I don't pay
This is
attention.
just a quiz.
The one that goes like bah, bah, bah. Yeah, and he used to play in my old band Cotorino, and Stefan is a wonderful reed player and person and animator himself. And
Oh yeah, he also did the stop motion animation
That's
for
right.
our the music video for Baba Yaga. And Stefan has some amazing projects of his own. He's got he plays a flaming saxophone in this series called Mechasonic Sessions, where it's all like fire and music. It's very cool.
he's got Gato Loco. He's got a whole bunch of projects, and just check him out.
And also we have Peter Bufano and Mike Dobson on Haunted Lighthouse. And that song we recorded in a totally different scenario from all the rest of the album. Haunted Lighthouse we recorded in Boston at Peter's house. Peter is a circus composer and band leader, and Mike Dobson used to be in Peter's circus band, Circestra, and also used to be in my old band, Sweet Soubrette. And happened to be he's now like a Broadway drummer, percussionist, but he happened to be in town. And so he showed up at Peter's house when we were there to record with Peter, who plays piano and accordion. And the four of us spent a whole day like running up and down the stairs in Peter's house because his like computer with all the mixing software, recording software was in the basement, and then there were cables snaked up like through the floor of the room above where the piano was. And so we were all kind of like going down into the cockpit to like run the session, and then somebody else would be playing upstairs, and we had to borrow like a snare drum from somebody and a ship's bell from the next door neighbor. And Dobson didn't have his drum set with him because he was playing on somebody else's show that was touring, but like we have him like on like pots and pans and like all manner of like random furniture. So all the percussion that you hear in Haunted Lighthouse is very special and unrepeatable.
Well, of course, we have like questions here in front of us, which, as usual, by the second question, I'm going completely off script because that's the way I operate. But you mentioned a couple of songs already that are a couple of my favorites, probably at the top of my list personally. And I don't know if it's Darren's favorite, but I know we both are suckers for the whole circus sound that you're just mentioning with Haunted Lighthouse. And I really love that song. I think it's probably the one that I've listened to the most. In fact, we've got this kind of, or I have a Halloween playlist because we often have a carnival theme, haunted, creepy carnival theme. And so your song will be going on that playlist soon because it's got the right vibe. But tell me a little bit about, you talked a little bit about that, but sort of how did the idea, like how did you decide, let's go with this circus theme and let's have all of this different instrumentation and, banging on furniture for percussion, sort of how did that idea come about?
Well, I think it was the accordion. We wanted accordion on that song.
Right, because it's like, seafaring song. And we knew it would probably be in 3/4 because that's kind of like a seafaring, sea shanty type thing. But the inspiration for the song for Haunted Lighthouse was actually by our friend during the pandemic. Our friend Carrie Kester had sent us a postcard, and in it she made some references, like ideas for songs.
Musical, she's like, oh, a haunted laundress, a glowing fortress, a haunted lighthouse. And we were like,
oh,
ooh.
don't have any lighthouse songs. Maybe that's what we should do.
As far as pulling in circus musicians goes, that wasn't like a decision. It's just that that's who our friends are.
Yeah, that's who was around.
We've known Peter forever. I mean, I've known Peter since like the early 2000s, and we've collaborated musically in like a bunch of different ways over the years. And when yeah, like I met Peter through the Bindlestiff Family Circus, which is a Brooklyn-based circus that I've worked with for a long time and even ran away with for a couple months once upon a time. Peter's written music for Bindlestiff. Jeff has played in the Bindlestiff Circus band with Peter
for a couple shows. That was fun.
And yeah, so we're all just like we're already connected in those ways. And Peter's put some tracks on some of our older recordings as well.
Yeah, and he's a good friend, so it was a really good thing to do to, like, when you're in a band, part of the fun is like, you're traveling a lot, and if you're trying to like combine traveling with social things and recording, it's like that's a win-win. So we're like, oh, let's go and stay for maybe 2 days and we can record, try to bang out this track. And it would be perfect because Peter's such a great accordion player and piano player, and Dobson was in town. So it was really
just like a lucky accident.
Yeah. So that's kind of the story of how we recorded it.
Well, I love the song. Like I said, it's probably of the 10 on the double, probably my favorite, narrowly above a few others. And one of the others that you've already mentioned, Beautiful Night, is almost, it's kind of the opposite end of Haunted Lighthouse, just in terms of sort of its, arrangement and the style of the song. So I guess tell me a little bit about Beautiful Night in particular, and kind of and it's a very different song, I think, for Charming Disaster as well. And tell me a little bit specifically about that song, and also just how did you experiment with your arrangements and production on the double as compared to your earlier albums?
Well, as it happens, Beautiful Night was also inspired by a Carrie Castor postcard. Carrie sends us a lot of postcards, and this one said something like, it was referring to like our fans, like our listeners, our community, and it was like, we don't need help to like invite in the dark, like implying that our fan base is populated by a bunch of depressives, which isn't
We get that. That
wrong,
resonates.
right? No, but that, I mean, I don't say that dismissively, but I mean like people who are like sensitive to the vagaries of this world. And I think like being sensitive to things has, it has an upside and a downside. And we certainly have people we love very much who struggle with mental health, and as do we ourselves. And but I love this idea that like we through our songs have a sort of approach to the darkness that is more embracing. um
Yeah.
I
and
think that's really, I mean, growing up in the goth subculture, I mean, I really think that is a part of it, is we're able to feel our feelings and also see beauty in kind of the harsh and or ugly, and sort of cherish that the darker aspects of life, which those feelings are part of.
Exactly. It's okay. It's okay that you're feeling these feelings
and
and
it's
it's dark.
and it's even a little bit of defiance, like,
Hmm.
okay, it's dark, okay, like it's beautiful in the dark, like we will lean into this and appreciate what there is in here.
Hmm.
um as far as the instrumentation goes, we reached out to Kate Wakefield and asked her to do a string arrangement on this one. So we really like laid off in terms of that. We had some ideas though, and it was really an interesting process working with Kate, because we had a sort of like concept that we wanted it to be kind of uh, dissonant
Hmm.
and a little experimental. And we gave as a reference PJ Harvey's A Man-Sized Sextet. Um, and like there's like Plants and Rags by PJ Harvey, which has some like really interesting string stuff happening. And Kate sent us three options, and one was like way experimental and dissonant, like very strange,
That's right.
and one was like a little bit more like traditional string quartet kind of style, and then there was one that was like in the middle, and we were like, that's it, you nailed it in that one. And so she kind of fleshed that one out for us.
And we
um
did layer on some things that she had given us, like
yeah.
some other, like, oh, we like this part of
Uh-huh.
this arrangement, and we're gonna like, so we kind of layered on some things that she had done. So,
Yeah, because her process was, it's not like she like wrote out a composition and
right.
then played it. She was like playing it in her microphone and layering ideas on kind of in real time. And so yeah, we did end up blending a couple takes that she did from different
Yeah.
passes.
And initially we thought, well, maybe it doesn't need ukulele and guitar. We would just like step back from it and let it just be the arrangement. But we wound up keeping like basic uke and guitar to kind of like keep time and stay
We
connected
put
with.
piano in that one too, didn't
Oh
we?
yeah, it was
Yeah.
piano. Try. I played the piano.
Yeah, it was really
That was
nice.
me.
Yeah. But yeah, that's sort of how it goes in the studio often, is like we'll have something, and then you start to hear other bits, and so you run over to the piano and you're like, oh, like
Right.
let's capture that. I've got this little
Right.
idea.
I know it's with arrangement, it's like, taking away is just as important as adding to it. And like when you pull things back and when you add things to your mixes and compositions is really it's interesting to think. And like usually you don't think about like removing things to make an impact, but it really does. And like since we're just two people when we play live, I think about that a lot. Since if I stop playing, it means a lot. Like
Hmm.
it's like half the music is half of the, string harmonic content is out. And it can make a big statement. Same,
It's
same.
more than half because you've got six strings and I've only
That's
got
true.
four.
That's right. I'm 60%
60% of
of
the
the
string
content.
content.
So it like, but it can be very powerful, and it can be very powerful just not having anything sometimes too.
Yeah, but like recording is so interesting because a lot of the arranging happens in that time, rather than in advance.
Yeah,
And it's really like as much of a creative process as writing the songs in the first place
very.
is. But a very different one. So I feel really lucky that being a musician means we get to do both recordings and performances, and also that like we get to be creative as songwriters and then creative in the studio. Like you get so many
We
different
get to make up
things.
merch. We get to
Oh
create
yeah, making the
so
merch is
many
so
things. I never
fun.
thought of
Yeah.
that being a
Posters.
musician, I'd be like making so many tote bags. But I love it. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you about because you guys, this album, as well as some of your past albums, often weaves sort of that nature and mysticism together. And we are seeing it on this album. So that's another theme that we see for the double. But were there any new influences? And I know of at least one for the video that you guys have out now. Were there any new influences, literary, musical, or even from the natural world that played a pivotal role in the creation of this album?
I think, what do you think?
No, no, new. Like,
I think we went deeper on the natural world stuff on this album. So a lot of these songs are written like around like since the pandemic for the most part. And there were a lot of moments of nature appreciation that got really heightened during the quarantine phase of the pandemic. I really started to have a different relationship with trees. Like, riding my bike around, I'd be like, oh, like those are my friends. Like, and like also I want to know what they are. And like I've gotten really like nerdy about trees. And I mean we're both kind of nerdy about trees.
oh, yeah,
Um,
tree book.
Um, the the song Green Things is kind of inspired by urban foraging for June berries and mulberries, which happens for me in June here in New York City. Um, so that was kind of a new thing. I mean, we've always been into poisonous plants, but these are like the other side, the benevolent plants.
I think in the recording process also is in a little bit more uh, experimental or further exploring sounds and textures
Yeah.
and like it's a little like spacier. Maybe
A
some
little
of the songs are a
denser,
little
maybe.
denser,
Yeah.
spacier, lush. Um,
We
you
were
know,
we were thinking about low specifically when we were
okay.
recording
Mm,
the second track.
um, yeah, and that was kind of a new or a further kind of delving into like a progression into that. We did that more, and some of the songs weren't really arranged before we went into the studio. All the like words and the form were there, but we were still open-ended on some of the sounds and how
And
like
like the instrumentation even,
instrumentation
yeah.
and that kind of thing. So that was a little different. Um,
But you want to talk about Dracula.
I don't, I don't necessarily want to. I'm
No,
just allowing you
but
the
you have
space.
to.
Allowing you the space. Since it is your current single, you got a video to go with it,
Yeah.
and you guys leaned into, as the t-shirt says, the undead. So, what exactly inspired you to go with the Dracula theme on both the song and the video? I guess the video kind of has to lean into it. If that's what the song's about. But
Well, last fall we were on tour, and some friends of ours in Milwaukee who are fans who've become friends, and we stay with them often when we're in Milwaukee. They were like, you know what's really great? There's this audiobook, this unabridged audiobook podcast of Dracula, and we like to listen to it every year on this time because the Halloween season is starting, and we really recommend it. And we were like, great, that sounds like the perfect thing to listen to in the car. And so for the next like 1 million hours of drive time, we listened to Dracula, the unabridged audiobook. And it's so much fun, but it's so tedious
Mhm.
also. There's so much like transactional real estate and like, you know,
Victorian morals.
yeah, and
Uh,
like, and so many red flags, like so many moments of people trying to pretend that things are fine when they're like very obviously not
right.
fine. Um,
Just like today.
yes, very much like today. And so there was a lot of so we were like yelling back at the audiobook at different moments, like the villagers won't they don't want to go there.
It's
Like
called Castle Dracula. What? Why would you go there?
there are holes in her neck. Come on.
It's not a
Like,
bug bite.
yeah.
This is like there's something.
And so the like so that it's all right chorus is a little bit of the Victorians trying to like pretend that things are all under control. But it's also Dracula kind of trying to talk you into, trying to seduce you. So the
Mhm.
perspective in that song jumps around a bit between Lily and Mina and Renfield and the Count himself. We're kind of pro Dracula, I
I think
guess.
so. Yeah, definitely pro Renfield.
Definitely pro like poor Lucy. Like all she wanted to do was like wander around in that park and like drink the occasional sip
Just
of blood.
just a little
Just
bit.
like let her have her fun.
These
Like
children,
ugh.
they were fine.
Yeah, they were fine. So so for the music video, we last summer we had an opportunity to work with a group of film students who are based at FSU, Florida State University's film program in Tallahassee. A couple of them were up in New York for other reasons, and we were
Yeah, we're like, do you want to? Well, they were like, oh, we can do this. We can shoot.
do you
Let's
want to
shoot
do it?
something
Yeah, we
really.
could do a music
Yeah,
video. We have like 2 days.
yeah. Let's just do it.
So
And
yeah,
they were really kind of on. They work really well together
they're
because they've been
so
working
organized
on each
and
other's
like
films for so long.
they're so good at like
Yeah,
dealing with the equipment and
yeah.
they have the vocabulary and they made so Zal the director Solomon Zalko made this storyboard where it's kind of a doubled story where it begins with Jeff's character kind of fantasizing about imagining himself as this powerful like Dracula vampire figure seducing a my character, and then, well, the tables turn halfway through, and you find out that it's
It's not what he
it's
thought.
not what he thought. And we used so much fake blood, and it was very messy. And we got to shoot some of the video in the historic Greenwood Cemetery in Brooklyn, which was a very, very cool
Beautiful place.
experience. Such a beautiful place.
That's on my bucket list, just
Oh,
It's
FYI.
gorgeous.
it's
And it was this beautiful day. And we were in this like part of the cemetery where there was like nobody else around. And we did not do any of the fake blood there. We just did the very beautiful, dreamy
yeah.
graveyard picnic sequence
Oh yeah.
there.
well, as you guys gear up for the release of the album, what sort of new experiences or surprises should fans expect, both on the album and in your upcoming live performances as you tour with this album?
Hmm.
Well, we're gearing up for the New York City album release show on May 15th. We were actually just rehearsing for that, and we're figuring out our instrumentation it's funny because we'll go into the studio and we'll record these kind of more realized versions of the songs, and then we have to strip them back down to perform them live with just the two of us. So
Yeah.
we were just trying out some stuff, which will be fun
Yeah.
to present in public. And then we're gonna be on tour for about 2.5 weeks in the Midwest into upstate New York in May and June. So we'll be playing those songs, which like most of them nobody has heard. We haven't really been playing
Yeah.
most of them out yet. So people can expect brand new songs from us that they've never heard before.
And the brand new Oracle deck, which we'll have with us.
That's right.
And we'll be using it
Oh, awesome.
as we do.
Yeah. Oh, and I also wanted to mention that there is a music video in the works for Time Machine as well, which should be coming out pretty soon. So people can get ready for that as well.
It's animated.
It's so cool.
Very awesome.
Cartoons.
You were talking about the live, sort of pivoting to the two instruments, and all of that. And obviously, folks who have been diehard fans like we are used to that, tuning into Quarantine live stream and hearing you all that way. So I was wondering if you had considered or ever would hope to record like a compilation of live performances, like to capture some of the banter that you all do and things like that. Part of this question is coming from, I don't know if you're familiar with them. I was a big fan of Canadian band Moxie Fruvis, who toured a lot, and they had an album called Live Noise that sort of captured their more
Cool.
kind
Oh,
of
that's
comedic
cool.
elements. And I just think y'all would do great with that. So a little suggestion slash question.
I think we could have a banter album.
Only banter.
Only banter.
It would do well, I think. So,
Only.
On the spoken word circuit.
It's an interesting idea. With live recordings, there's two things, and one is like you have to execute perfectly and be confident that you're gonna execute it like more or less perfectly.
Mhm.
And also like the sound at the place where you're doing it and like the capturing of that sound has to be like really good. So yeah, I'm not opposed to it, but it would have to be like the right circumstances.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We need good
Well,
recording.
and what I liked about their version is sort of like they recorded at several locations and then sort of picked the ones that they liked,
Sure.
and the little snippets that they found amusing. But yeah, if you can get it kind of recorded through the board of some of the bigger venues or something like that.
Right. It's funny. I feel like when people see us live who've never seen us before and have only listened to our recordings, I think sometimes they're surprised that we're like as funny and like personable as we are, because like we like to address the audience directly, and we like to goof around on stage, and I think that doesn't necessarily come across in our recorded oeuvre, although it certainly does in the live streams, and there's plenty of like videos,
Yeah.
live videos of us on YouTube. Like it's not hard to figure out.
Well, I love that duality about you all. So
It's the whole
it
dichotomy.
works for me.
Exactly.
I guess the other thing, Jeff, you mentioned like ideas about merch or just like,
Mhm.
that you didn't think you would be going in that direction. So I wanted to ask if you all suddenly came into a bunch of money, just like
your stock portfolio is, I'm sure,
Yeah.
rocketing right now, just like the rest of us.
Like
Yeah.
what kind of pipe dream project, whether it's a collaboration, a tour, or merch concept or whatever, what do you think you would
That's a great
go
question.
after?
Great question. I would like to have this problem.
Yeah. I think if we had a lot of money and we were touring, I would like to have, develop our stage kind of show.
Pyro.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Pyrotechnics and smoke machines.
I mean, it would be amazing to be able to travel with our own sound engineer.
Yeah.
And like level up that it would be great to have in-ear monitors, and like those are expensive, and
Yeah, this is kind of like
I know,
technical and
like
boring,
really
but
boring.
like but like maybe like screens behind us
Uh-huh.
or something where we can be in a little bit more control of our environment instead of it just being like the
At the
bar
mercy of
at the
whatever it is.
yeah.
Yeah, like a small inflatable screen
Yeah.
that we could just like, hit a button and like suddenly it like,
Or just some
yeah.
kind of mobile truck that we just open up the side and we play uh,
Hmm.
from the people.
I
Like a
mean, I'd love
medicine
to have,
show?
yeah,
Yeah.
I'd love to be able to hire more personnel. We
Yeah.
have a social media assistant who is a godsend, and I'm so grateful that that we're able to hire her to work with us. It would be really amazing if we could outsource some of the other stuff that we do, like
Tour booking.
well, tour booking, yeah, but that's not necessarily just like a matter of having enough money. But like I'd love to be able to like buy a building and like put our social media assistant in that building and have her deal with all our like shipping fulfillment stuff and have it be like a warehouse, for us
Yeah,
to
it's where
keep
we
all the
park our
merchant.
huge truck.
Yep. Yeah. So truck, building, merch fulfillment, salary for Eden to do all that stuff.
Yeah.
That's what
I
I'd
like
like.
it.
I think this is just like a manifest kind of moment where
Yeah.
you're putting
Yeah,
in
no, I
this.
love it.
This can be
Oh,
like the Vanity Fair interviews where we'll
Yeah.
come back
yeah.
to you
Yeah.
down the road and you'll be like, oh, how cute we were.
Oh yeah, I love that idea. Also, we have a friend Sierra who is a fan who's also made some shows happen with us, and we adore her. And Sierra has volunteered that when we are able to afford it, Sierra will be our advance person and will like go to like the towns where we're gonna play and like promote the hell out of the show before we get there. And she would be great at that. We can't afford to hire her to do that at this point, but wouldn't that be great? Yeah, she'd pay for herself.
Oh yeah. Good.
That's it for this edition of In the Parlor. Thanks a lot to Elia Bisker and Jeff Morris, aka Charming Disaster.
Hey, can you pass me that chalice of blood?